Bridezilla stories from Reddit. Story 1. I, maid of honor, just found out the bride talked shit behind my back the entire wedding day, but still had me plan/pay for everything. I was asked to be the maid of honor by a friend of mine who I've had a rocky past with. She doesn't really have anyone close in her life that lasts longer than a few years, and she also changes jobs every few months because she is high conflict and causes drama constantly. She thrives off of it. In hindsight, I should have said no, especially knowing this was her and the groom's third engagement, so off and on. But I agreed and took everything so seriously. Bridezilla was an understatement. She changed the members of the bridal party 5 times, so I constantly had to track down new people. Her bridal shower had to be at this one very specific country club that was expensive. She changed the date of the actual wedding and forgot to tell me for months, and it was on a Friday, so I had to request off work. Nothing I bought was good enough, and she always requested more. She changed my dress color after I bought it. She also just stopped talking to me unless it was about the wedding, and had no idea what was going on in my personal life. I paid for just about everything because the people she kept inviting in the bridal party were younger than us. Early 20s, I'm 27, bride is 33, and have no stable income. I have a good job and am smart with my money, but even for me, it was really difficult. I'm talking about $6,000 on this wedding as maid of honor, and I'm trying to plan my own soon too. Well, day of wedding comes, I make sure she has a bunch of custom gifts, a day off bag, my speech was beautiful, etc., but she was so rude to me the entire day. She has a new BFF she met about 4 months before the wedding, and they are attached at the hip, and all she wanted to do was talk to her. But whatever, I was super busy handling everything, so I tried to ignore it. Wedding comes and goes, she leaves to go to the after party with her new BFF, and I stay behind to clean up the entire venue with the help of my boyfriend after, and we go home. Well, I get a call today from her cousin, who was also in the wedding party, who I really bonded with over this awful experience. She told me that she didn't want to say anything to me, but she thinks I deserve to know because I'm already buying Christmas gifts for bride and her kids. Her cousin tells me that every time I left the bridal suite the day of the wedding, the bride would announce to everyone in the room that she couldn't stand me. I wish she weren't even here. I'm so effing annoying. She also has a separate group chat with her sisters and cousins and continues to talk shit on me there. Mind you, she just sent me a Christmas list for her kids last week. Everything is already bought and wrapped. I feel so hurt and so used, and honestly, really stupid. I just blocked her on everything. I don't want to even message her because I know she'll somehow twist it around and make it my fault. TLDR, bride talked shit on me the entire wedding and continues to do so, but hasn't said anything to my face, and still expects me to buy Christmas gifts for her kids. ETA, I'm seeing a lot of comments saying this is on me for missing/ignoring red flags, and I 100% agree. I should have gone more into the backstory, but it's super complicated and long, so I left it out. I used to be the stepmother of her oldest son, so her ex is also my ex, and he's a huge POS, but that's a story for another day, and I'm extremely bonded to the kiddo. I was in his life from 9 months old, and she's allowed me to still be involved in his life for the past 4+ years, even after I left the relationship. He's 7 now. So a huge part of me still feels this immense, incredible debt to her, and I will always appreciate her keeping me in her son's life, but she didn't have to do that. But as my friend, kids aside, she is incredibly selfish and toxic, and I should have made better boundaries and kept my guard up. But wow, that's easier said than done when kids are involved. ETA 2. I also meant that I spent $6,000 on the bridal shower, bachelorette, gifts, etc. I did not pay for the actual wedding venue itself, but $6,000 of my own money still for wedding-related things. ETA 3. I appreciate everyone's advice. I was more or less venting on this post. I know I'm not blameless in this, and definitely let it drag on too long, because I was/am scared that once I upset Bridezilla, I lose access to being a part of her children's lives. However, I agree that it's not healthy for me to continue to be in contact with her, and her children are better off not seeing me being used as a doormat by their mother. I blocked her number and do not plan on interacting with her ever again. Time to just move on and focus on my own healing for once. Story 2, entitled Aunt Brought Extra Guests to My Wedding. Not sure what to do. I, 22 female, just got married on Friday. It was a gorgeous day and everything went perfectly except for my aunt. For context, we rarely get together as a family. They only get invited to larger milestones such as weddings. Her one son cycles through girlfriends, and my rule for the wedding was that they had to be dating longer than a year in order to be invited as a +1. This is the same stipulation my sister had at her wedding a year prior, and the same aunt caused issues about this, so I should have seen this coming. Anyways, 2 weeks before the wedding, we saw each other at a family baptism and found out my cousin had a new girlfriend. Shocker. She did seem super sweet. I have nothing against her. So I spoke with my aunt and told her the final number was in for the venue for food, but since she lives in the same town as the reception, she could come at 9 once all the formalities were finished. She seemed pleased with this and said she would pass along the message. Didn't think anything of it until the wedding day. Cousin's new girlfriend was at the church. I thought, okay, that's not a big deal, whatever. But after the church, we were doing extended family photos. She was there, with the cousin inviting her, not any pic he's in. At that point, I was pissed, but it was cold and I wanted to be done with pictures, so I let it slide. Once photos were finished and we're waiting for dinner, the cousin's girlfriend is still there. So I go to talk to my mom and ask what is up, like, did she know anything? And she's like, the aunt didn't talk to me today saying anything about cousin's girlfriend coming, and we'll just all scoop food off our plate for her. She didn't talk to me at all. And it's not even about the food, but like physical place settings. I had individualized cards for everyone and everything neatly laid out, and she just pulled up a chair to the cousin's table. All my siblings who spoke to her all said she's so sweet and likely did not know she wasn't even invited, and more likely, my entitled aunt said she could come and that it was fine. My mom told me it's okay and to not get worked up about it since my grandparents, who came from overseas, was there for the wedding too. I didn't say anything to them and they never spoke to me the entire evening. Now I am wondering if I should message my aunt and say how incredibly disrespectful her behavior is, or if I should just let it go. Most of my family is telling me to get over it and saying, oh, that's just who she is, but she shouldn't be able to get away with that. So what should I do? If I should message her, what should I even say? Story 3. Mom changed wedding cake behind my back and doesn't know that I know. What should I do? My fiancé and I get married this fall, and the cake has been a huge point of contention with my mom. Long saga, but the gist of it is that we wanted a dessert bar or cheesecake instead of a traditional cake. My mom initially insisted on having at least a small cake for us to just cut. We compromised and got quotes. Right before we put a deposit down, she decided that having just a cake for us and not for guests is tacky, so we needed to get a sheet cake to serve as well. We were annoyed because she was the one to suggest it, so we cut our losses and opted to do tiered cheesecake and mini cheesecakes, as we originally wanted. My mom would not let go of this for the past 6 months. She then decided to focus on pushing for a groom's cake. My fiancé did not want one. When I told her this, she said it's really only a groom's cake in name and not about what he wants. I told her a firm no multiple times because she wouldn't give up. That brings us to this week. I got a text yesterday saying she was at the bakery and paid for the order. I got suspicious because I never included her in those communications. I called the bakery today and was told by a very apologetic employee that my mom had added a multi-tiered groom's cake with different fillings, flowers, the whole kit and caboodle. We still have cheesecake, but I feel like it'll look silly next to what is essentially a wedding cake. My question now is, what do I do? She doesn't know that I know. I'm furious and hurt. Obviously, it's just a cake, but it's not really about that now. She went behind my back and crossed multiple boundaries after I told her no. Am I being a bridezilla for not letting her have her traditional wedding cake? Update. By the time I posted, it was too late to cancel the wedding due to deposits and contracts, so it continued as planned. And to clarify, yes, my parents did pay for the wedding, although my husband and I made it clear several times that we did not expect or need them to pay for everything. No, I don't think them paying excuses my mom's actions. My parents reiterated that it was our wedding and we should do what we wanted. Clearly, the cake was the exception to this, though she had previously said to get cheesecake if that's what we wanted. My husband and I got a laugh out of everyone's suggestions for how to handle the cake. Initially, I wanted to go the petty route and surprise my mom by calling the bakery to change the cake design to something she would find tacky that would reflect my husband's hobbies. You know, like a groom's cake should do. After taking a few days to weigh my options, I knew my desire for petty satisfaction would nuke my relationship with my mom, which had truthfully never had this dynamic up until wedding planning. I knew that she absolutely was the one in the wrong and acting like a child. And while I'm the actual child in the relationship, I wanted to be mature and handle this like an adult, if only for my own moral high ground. I communicated with my parents and listed all the reasons why this situation, and others throughout the wedding planning process, was hurtful and completely out of line. Shock of the century to everyone on Reddit, I'm sure. It didn't go well. There was a series of texts I received from my mom that demonstrated she couldn't take accountability or comprehend that I wasn't mad that she ruined my wedding by ordering a cake, but rather that she went behind my back knowing it would surprise and upset me on my wedding day. I attempted multiple times to redirect to the actual issue with little success. We ended the conversation with her apologizing for a cake, making my husband and me so upset. This obviously wasn't a genuine apology or the main issue, even if she thought it was. She also agreed to move the groom's cake to a meal we had the day before the wedding, which I was fine with. At this point, we were a week out from the wedding, and the thought of continuing to press the issue was too much for me to handle with everything else on my plate. I dropped the rope leading up to the wedding so I could refocus on enjoying my wedding as best I could. I interacted with my mom as little as possible the day of, and our wedding party and coordinator did a fantastic job being a buffer. While I've had some contact with her since, it has dramatically declined so I can get some much needed space. Obviously, we'll need to have some tough conversations, but I'm choosing to spend my time with my new husband and getting back into therapy first. Weddings, man, they really bring out the crazy in people. Oh, and the cheesecakes were a huge hit, by the way. Story 4. My brother being a Groomzilla. I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable or not, but here goes. My partner died last year, and my brother was really insensitive about it. He showed no support to me, but still expected me to support him emotionally. Fast forward to this year, my brother got engaged, but didn't set a date for the wedding. They've moved when they plan to marry a few times. My brother knows I've applied for a job, which involves me being out of the country for a few weeks next summer. He's announced that his wedding will be during that time. Apparently, I'm expected to go. He hasn't communicated with me about this at all, and knows I don't have the money to come back part way through being away. So now I either cancel the job and don't go, which would cause me financial problems, or I don't go to the wedding and piss everyone off. It's really bothered me that he expects to be able to put me in that position without even speaking to me. Am I being unreasonable? Story 5. Coworker asked me to be her man of honor. I said no and she went nuts. What did I miss? This happened yesterday and I'm still confused. Yesterday was my first day back to work after being off for 2 weeks. This is kind of important. One of my coworkers has gotten engaged the week before I left. When she announced at work, we all did the congratulations and happy for her type of things. I thought it was over. So when I left for vacation, the last I knew, no plans had yet been made. Then yesterday, when I went back to work, my boss Kay and my best friend Elle said that coworker C was looking for me. I asked what was up, and they weren't sure, but she was carrying a little gift bag. A few minutes later, C found me and asked how my vacation was. I was telling them about it, and she cut me off and said she had a very important question to ask. She handed a little gift bag and asked if I would be her best man of honor for her wedding. I thanked her and told her that typically this would traditionally go to a close female relationship. She responded that there was nothing traditional about her wedding, so it was good. I looked over at Elle and Kay, who were both trying to keep from laughing. I again thanked her, congratulated her, and told her that I wasn't interested in being part of her wedding party and that I would be happier being a guest in the audience. I swear when I said this, it was when we watched her entire demeanor change and a switch flipped. She went off saying that I have to be in her wedding and that she doesn't understand why I would say no. I told her that we only knew each other for a short time and that I had no interest in trying to plan parties, dinners, and shopping trips. She told me I needed to think about it and she would get back to me later. I told her go for it, but my answer will be the same. She walked away and I looked at Kay and Elle and asked what the ever-loving, fresh, creepy H was that. Kay started to laugh and said she didn't know, but saying no like I did might have saved me a lot of headaches in the future. Elle made the comment that she went straight to Bridezilla, and this was a look into what she was going to be like. She came back today. However, she went with a different approach and handed me a list of what she wants me to do and her vision of how she sees things. I asked her why she gave me this, and she said that as her man of honor, these were my responsibilities. I told her again that I was not going to do any of this. She started again that she needs me to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Then she asked, haven't you ever wanted to be part of something special? I told her I was. I was a nurse. Enter Kay, who could sense that I needed help, and told C one of her patients needed her help. I told Kay that if this keeps up, I might need her help. She said she was already watching it and would intervene if I needed it. What did I miss? We aren't that close. She just transferred down to my unit from a different unit 6 months ago. I had no idea who she was until that point. Elle is saying that she is close in age to me and she might feel that to be enough of a connection. Did I miss something? When we are asked, are we supposed to automatically gush and jump up and down in excitement? Why is saying no a bad thing? Update. First, I apologize. I never thought this was going to go as crazy as it did. I want all of you to know I read all your responses and responded to as many as I was able to. Thank you for all your amazing insights and comments, many that made me laugh, which I needed. I have been sick and that really helped cheer me up. I had to meet with a lawyer today regarding family issues. My neighbor / best friend / coworker Elle took me. I really felt awful and driving wasn't a good idea. We were talking about this on the way and we both were asking a lot of the same questions that all of you were asking. The big one was that we were asking about the circumstances of her transfer. She went from med surgery 4W to the ER. That is a huge change. I have to work tomorrow, so we will see what happens, but Elle and I are going to ask Kay about the transfer and raise a couple of other concerns. After I got home from the meeting with my lawyer, I slept for the rest of the day. Many of you asked about if C and I hang out outside of work. The answer is no. I really don't know anything about her. I have helped her a few times with patients and different things, but our relationship is 100% purely work-related. That is why I was so surprised that she asked me about being the man of honor. I have a very small friend base, and in all honesty, I like to keep it that way. I really have no interest in being a part of this. I'm not a wedding person. After reading so many Bridezilla stories and hearing about over-the-top weddings, they have become a huge turnoff to me, spending tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars with insane, unrealistic demands that turn people against each other. Why? I would rather use that money and spend that time planning my next trip or vacation. Many people said that I was being used as a token or prop in a wedding, or a gay best friend. I never really thought about it. I admit that I'm out and proud, but I'm not going to pretend to be someone's friend, just so they can feel some kind of thing they have for wanting to have a gay best friend, or some kind of status she feels the need to fulfill. It takes a lot to get me offended, but if this were actually the case, then I would really be rather offended. I was not put on the face of the earth to be someone's play toy. A lot of people have said that maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend. She does. She has brought him in before. If she has any insecurity, I don't understand it. She is attractive, smart, and knows the stuff. So I'm at a loss to why she is acting like this. A lot of people say go to HR. I'm starting that process with my boss, Kay. She is completely aware of the situation being with us when all of this happened. She has told me that she is watching the situation and will jump in if I need her to. I trust her completely. While Kay and HR can control the situation from the hospital, they can't control the situation from a personal level if she were to maybe follow me home or a situation like that. So I think that covers it all. I wish I could say this is over, but most likely there is more to come. Update edit. This intro is going to be long, but I'm telling you this for a reason, and later in this update it will make sense. I'm hoping this will be done and that this will be the last of this whole situation. I was born into a family where I was referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with. I lived in the shadows of my sister, who was the child my parents wanted. They wanted one child, which was a girl. That way, Dad had his daddy's girl and Mom had Mommy's little princess. Then I came along. Keep in mind that I'm 23, so back then my parents had options, but chose to not use any of those options. So instead, my parents raised my sister, and I was raised by a nanny, who even to this day is one of the biggest influences in my life, and I am so grateful for her. She helped me with so much. I finally realized that all these years later, that by being referred to as an issue that needs to be dealt with, that they stripped me of my humanity and individuality and self-worth as a person. I think that's why I have worked so hard to establish myself in my career and in my life, as a way to become a person again and not just be that issue that needs to be dealt with. This past Thursday, things came to a head with the Bridezilla known as C, and the truth came out. My best friend Elle has been sticking close to me when we worked together, if C was to start something. We weren't sure if she was going to leave it alone or start up again. I was really hoping that it was done, but she had to try once again. I've been sick and I had a busy morning, so I really just wanted a few minutes to go to the bathroom, grab a quick snack, and maybe breathe. C came up and had her list and asked if I had a few minutes to talk about the wedding planning. I looked at her and told her again no, that I was not interested in being part of her wedding and that I was not going to help in any way, and she needed to drop the subject and leave me alone. Again, she went into the whole thing of how I was going to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Here we go with that line all of you loved the first time. Why in the ever-loving, fresh, creepy H is it so important for me to be your man of honor? I'm not interested, and I'm not doing it. It is exactly as pretty much all of you told me it would be. She was just planning on using me as a token or a play toy. She took all of the effed up gay stereotypes that are out in society and put them into one sentence. What modern liberal woman isn't going to have a gay bestie on her arm for special events? I felt everything in my stomach move, and a wave of nausea came over me, and I felt like I couldn't get to the bathroom fast enough. This pissed Elle off to no end. Elle is really kinda like the overprotective sister that I wish I would have had, and took C off to visit our boss Kay and laid it all out. Everything that was said. While I wasn't in on that conversation, Elle and Kay filled me in on what was said. Kay came to check on me, and I was still hiding in the bathroom. She knocked on the door and asked if she could come in. I asked her for a bottle of water first. While I was waiting, I realized two things. I realized why I chose not to hang out with her and why I didn't like her. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like her, just that there was something that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I realized that I didn't like her because she is a different version of my sister. While C is educated and employed, she doesn't care about other people and their feelings. She is like my sister in the sense that if she wants something bad enough, she will figure out how to get it. The second thing I realized was that she did exactly what my parents did to me. She completely dehumanized me and reduced me to an entity. Just kinda turned me into a token or a thing for her. What really gets me is that, just like my sister, C doesn't think she did anything wrong, and I'm being too sensitive and a delicate snowflake. The next day an emergency meeting was held at work, and C is being suspended, pending investigation, and a new transfer is being looked into. Kay made the request for her to be terminated. The director of emergency nursing said this was a last resort, but she was going to be looking into options, which could be sending her to a new hospital or facility. This didn't go over well with me. I asked what would happen if she did the exact same thing to someone different. She didn't really give me an answer, but she said she still needs to look into a few things, and at this point, she is suspended. Anyway, here it is. I'm pretty sick, and I had to work this weekend. If I can, I'll respond. I want to thank everyone for all the amazing support. I'm going back to my lawyer to see if he can figure out how to send her a cease and desist letter to make sure she doesn't contact me.